what the heck is going on in the US economy? Better yet, what the heck is going on with small business? We're going to talk to the concierge to small business lending, Mr. Bo Eckstein, who's got some data, some metrics for us to understand about what's going on. So let's do the State of the Union for small businesses. Bo, what do you got?
So I was at a conference the last 2 days, and the gentleman presented. He does a lot of huge merger acquisitions for uh, financing companies, like when American Express bought Cabbage, which is an alternative lender. Like his firm does all this, like billions of dollars of M&A in this space. His presentation was pretty interesting, but he had a couple slides. I took notes. So nearly half of all U.S. workers are either owners or employees of small businesses. In
Wow.
2023, new small business formations surged by almost 9%.
Hmm,
99% of the US businesses are small.
hmm.
46% of American workers are employed by SMBs.
Wow.
44% of the GDP is generated by SMBs.
Hmm.
63% plus of new jobs created between 95 to 2021 were SMBs. 34 million plus SMBs operate in the US. 13 trillion in gross revenue generated by SMBs. 10 million plus new businesses are expected to be formed over the next 10 years. 12 million plus businesses are expected to change hands in the same period. Pretty awesome.
So, again, those numbers are impressive. Um, Really, what it tells me is the backbone of the United States economy is the small and medium-sized business. It tells me that there's still investment in growth in small and medium-sized business, both income and headcount. Talking about the future is interesting, new businesses, but also businesses changing hands, a la Cody Sanchez and others, Alex Ramosi and the like, talking about that. Uh, so it really sounds like to me the small business section of the economy is, I'm going to call it healthy. I don't know what else to call it. What do you think?
Yeah, his overall take, other than the political turmoil, was that in small business lending, particularly, you're going to see the alternative space. So now with API integrations, the way these banks and non-bank, specific non-bank lenders can operate using apps like Plaid, which actually syncs your bank account, and they can go in there and they can see how many deposits, what's your average balance. The technology is streamlining financing. So that's also a big play. We have to keep this. The alternative financing is going to continue to grow. And I don't know, will banks keep up is the question. Hopefully they will for their sake, because the alternative finance space is here to stay and it's growing rapidly.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about non-banks, right? Non-banks, obviously a big, have been playing in the real estate game since the Great Recession, right? Kind of one of the turmoils after the Great Recession with all that regulation is this shadow banking or non-banking is playing a bigger and bigger portion. Wall Street money, funds, all of that. I had never thought, incorrectly so, that non-banks really played in the SMB space. It sounds like they already are, but more importantly, will play a bigger role in the future, is what you're saying.
I mean, just look at this. When I started back in the day, originating hard money fix and flip loans, I worked with a fund out of the Bay Area. There wasn't the national lenders there are today. Then, I don't remember the year exactly, institutional players came in.
Mhm.
These huge players came in, and now they got market share, right? The biggest lender out there today in that space is Kiavi, which is used to be Lending Home, based out of San Francisco. Then they moved, they got merged, right? They do billions and billions in volume. Okay, and then there's a couple other top tier. All they do is fix and flip and DSCR loans, right?
Yep.
So that has, since when I got started, it was when I got started, we had a competitive advantage because it was mom and pop private money funds that would make the
Yeah.
deals. And now it's everything gets institutionalized. This is what happens to in the business space. The same thing is happening. These these different funds are coming in and they're seeing such amazing opportunity to create revenue. So
Mhm.
traditionally, if you don't get SBA financing, there's something called MCA. So all these merchants out there that aren't maybe able to need quick cash, they're getting MCAs, which is a merchant cash advance.
Hmm.
It's not a loan, it's an advance. I actually invest into a syndication that invests in the returns are ridiculously high. It's a high default rate, but I play that game. So there's a lot of better alternatives to MCAs, but when people need quick cash, there's these funds. They can get them funds in 2 days. It's crazy, and I didn't realize how many merchants have cash flow problems. And that
Yeah,
brings me
it's
to another point.
yeah.
How do they manage their cash flow? They need to be better at doing that because they shouldn't be borrowing money at probably 30 or 40% interest on these merchant cash advances.
Yeah, it's really funny when you look at entrepreneurs. You really look at any companies, even publicly traded companies. That people don't realize this. You can be profitable. You can have growing revenue and go bankrupt. If your cash flow, if your money in doesn't match money going out, you eventually go broke, right? If your receivables are 90 days, but you're on a 30-day payment schedule, you could go broke, even if you're profitable and even if revenue's growing. Cash flow is the most important statement, even for families. I mean, one of the things that I tell families all the time is, yeah, you probably know your net worth. You probably know your income, but do you know your cash flow? And they look at me with like I have three heads. It's like, what is that? Right. So as an accountant, I quickly realized the cash flow statement's important. One of the things that I think about SMB with where we are going in the near future, right? We are obviously on a Fed rate cutting cycle. We have one of the presidential candidates talking about some money for small, medium sized businesses. I believe the other candidate has started talking similar things. I think there's going to be a lot of focus. I think with either president, I think there will be a lot of focus on SMB incentives because we want to manufacture more. We want to be more than a service economy. So it wouldn't shock me, regardless of who wins next year, that there's a lot of focus on small and medium sized business. What do you think?
I completely agree 100%. And I also think it's what our fellow Americans want, right? We want to break away from the traditions. And because we were told that we have to work a standard 9 to 5 for 50 years, then retire and get a gold watch, that's what we believe. I think there's a lot of people bucking that trend right now. And I think the more we can do our job in educating people through real estate investing, business ownership, right? Like when people start realizing, hey, look, I have to go work a job or gig work. I have to save money. I have to buy my first duplex. I have to live in one unit. I have to rent the other one out. Like they're gonna at 30 years old. If you got into the game at 20, by 30, you don't have to work the traditional job, even
No.
be ultra
Yeah.
conservative. Ultra conservative.
Oh, for sure. This is a 10-year play, right? If you come into the game when you're a little bit older like I was and you have family commitments and you have other things, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but yeah, dude, if you're 20, you're coming out humming after high school or college, 10-year journey, snap, done. Easy.
Yeah. So even if you want to go traditional because it's safe for you and it's what your family's focusing on, and it's not a bad thing. You're going to learn skills at whatever
Yeah.
you're doing. So take it as like, look, I'm getting paid to learn something. So find something that you can work in the corporate where it's going to enhance your entrepreneurial skills. And I think we got to look at like these stepping stones because everybody comes out and says, oh, I got to go buy rental property. Well, first, maybe do a house hack. Make it simple. Get that FHA financing. Same thing with business ownership. Maybe you're not ready for a franchise or doing a business acquisition, but what's a business you could start for $500? And Noah Kagan wrote a book like I forgot what a business in a weekend, and
Yeah.
how he launches businesses. And the guy's ultra successful. So I think, look, guys, you don't need money to start a business. You can go out and bootstrap something, figure out what you can do, start researching it, and go out and do whatever that business is, even if it's cleaning garbage cans.
Absolutely.
There's franchises out there that all they do is come around and clean out the garbage can with pressure washers, and
Mhm.
they're making big bucks. So it doesn't really take that much. It just takes that drive.
There you go. Well, again, I love the state of the union small business that is healthy. It is growing. It is full of opportunity to start or secure, buying one from somebody who's retiring. But one of the things they're going to need, Bo, is financing. How do they reach out to you to see what they qualify for?
Sure. Just go to onerentalmeeting.com. It takes you to the calendar. You book a discovery call. We just figure out if you're trying to buy a business, if you want to do a biz act, if you want to do a franchise, how you can finance it. We talk about, does it make sense to use a HELOC? Does it make sense to get SBA? All that and more. So just go to onerentalmeeting.com.
OneRentalMeeting.com. I'm still so happy that he's created that URL just for our community. Bo, you are amazing.
All right. Thanks, guys.